Going with the agenda, we're just gonna introduce ourselves. Some of this we went over in our other virtual organizing training, but we're gonna go a little bit more in depth. We're gonna go to introductions, give a primary runoff election update on how we're dealing with coronavirus at this time, virtual organizing from home, why we phone bank, who we're talking to, what are we saying, and how to get started, as in like how to actually get from signing up to mobilize to making phone calls. And then of course, we're gonna have time for questions. So starting off introductions, my name is Ariel Aranza Mendez. I don't think we have a slide with our pictures, but I'm the Southwest organizer as well as the Asian American Pacific Islander field organizer. So I focus on like the Gulfton, Alief, some of West Chase area. Some of that is the Northwest organizers. But also, if you run into any Asian speaking phone bankers, send them my way, because we also have phone banks in different Asian languages.
Just continuing those introductions. So I think I know most of everybody on here. I'm JL, the operations manager at the office. So as many of y'all are doing, just trying to figure out different ways that we can do, virtual outreach, not just with the phone banks, but with like trainings and ongoing, sessions that we can just connect with Democrats across the county, and ultimately get everybody to vote, if it's voting by mail or voting out in the polls, or however we can safely get voters out there. But yeah, and that's me. And so
hey, this is Sam. I work at the party also, handling organizing and along with the clubs and orgs, and RJ.
Hey everybody, I'm RJ. I'm the Northwest organizer for the party. Katy area, Spring Branch, Jersey Village, everything really Northwest.
Awesome. So thanks so much for the help during the primary. Now we are into the runoff. It's been extended due to the situation. So I hope everybody is safe, that your families are safe. We've all been working outside of the office for almost going on 4 weeks now, actually. And it's been interesting. It's been a transition. I'm sure, y'all have stories as to how your club has been handling your monthly meetings and everything, and just the day-to-day life. But there is an election that is coming up in November, and we need to, turn out as many of our voters as possible, because, that date is not changing. And I think we're nearing the 200 day mark coming up in a couple of days. But the immediate thing that we're concerned with is the runoff. And what we'll be doing is pushing out the vote by mail program, which we had during the primary. Vote by mail has always been the most convenient, safest way to vote. I think some people, they find that hard to believe. But, Donald Trump votes by mail, regardless of what he says now. The U.S. military, they vote by mail. The Postal Service is probably the most secure thing. If you've been getting Amazon deliveries, then I think you have enough faith in the Postal Service, right? This thing works every day. And so, we're really pushing the vote by mail, because we don't know what the situation will be like in the fall. Hopefully the governor expands it, but just seeing with all the other Republican governors, what they've been doing, I highly doubt it, right? But if November, whatever the situation may be, if somebody is able to just fill out the form, mail it in, then we don't have to worry necessarily about a long line or anything like that. Let me get to it. The voter registration deadline, sorry, there was a message. Voter registration deadline is in June 15th. We'll see what the different programs that people are doing to get that out. And the VBM deadline is July 3rd. We'll be making phone calls throughout then to push vote by mail. Then we've got early voting, where, we'll be doing texting and making phone calls to everybody that voted in the primary, right? Because if they voted in the primary, they're the ones most apt to vote in the runoff, you know, and then election day itself. And of course, all of this is building towards November.
Thank you. Yeah, so a big part of organizing from home, especially, since we can't go anywhere, is phone banking. It's the most efficient way to reach the broadest number of people to get your message out. Again, especially right now with what's going on. Everybody's home. We're home. We know that, people have been picking up more frequently than they have before. And so like canvassing, what we call for is season dependent. Usually we do it for identification of other Democrats, mobilizing volunteers, voters, and the implementation of voting. Right now, as Sam was saying, our big push is voting by mail. So the people that we are talking to are 65 or older. And again, what we know is that they're home. People that I've spoken to earlier this year that may not have been interested in voting by mail have been way more receptive. They've asked us, yes, please send us those applications. It's something that we weren't really looking into before, but now that we're at home and the coronavirus pandemic is going on, it's something that we feel is safer for us and probably the best way for us to vote. We've also had really great conversations. So people are alone at home. They may not have people to talk to. So the conversations that may usually last a couple of minutes have been extended, which gives us a great opportunity to just kind of talk about what issues they are feel is most important to them, and also asking if there's anybody else that they know that is eligible to vote by mail so that we can also send them applications. And who we're talking to are Democrats. As I'm sure most of y'all have phone banked, that we make sure that we identify that they're Democrats first. We don't want to turn out more Republicans than we have to. So Democrats, great. We love talking to you. When the conversation's going really well, we can ask them about volunteering. If they're undecided, it's a good way to kind of dive into what issues are important to them and use that opportunity to persuade them to vote Democratic. Lots of times I've talked to independents who may lean left or, they vote by candidate. So that's a great way to just kind of dive into what the Democratic Party supports and what our values are, and just use that to encourage them to vote Democratic. And of course, if you get a Republican, which happens sometimes on these lists, they're not 100% perfect, then just, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. If they need any sort of resources regarding the coronavirus, feel free to provide that to them. There's hotline numbers that are included in the script. Now, so again, what we're calling for right now is vote by mail applications. Usually in the summer, we use it to build capacity. So persuading voters, recruiting and training volunteers, really building up our base. Then as election season nears, we move on to vote by mail reminders. Hi, have you sent in your ballot that you received? Have you sent in your application? We also call for early voting and just getting out the vote in general.
Thanks, RJ. So next, it'll be we'll go over phone bank best practices. I think for the most part, everybody has phone banked. So everyone's pretty familiar with these best practices. But of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. One of the main things is practicing, whether it's by yourself or with the person over the phone or over Zoom. Just practice the script. Kind of make it sound like your own script. So you don't sound so robotic whenever you're reading it. And especially how RJ said, definitely get into that conversation with folks. Because as you guys know, it's really hard kind of just staying at home by yourself. So, really get it more personalized, if you will. whenever starting phone banking. Also, make sure to listen. Although we are trying to, give like a message about the importance of vote by mail. Same thing as we talked about earlier, people like to have conversations, especially during this time. So just listen to them. And as RJ mentioned, we do have those resources on the script, whether it's like mental health or essential workers who are looking into, who need help with like childcare. All that information is provided in the script, and we can send more information with those resources. So definitely just listening to the person that you're talking to is a good best practice. Reiterating it again, use the script, but put it into your own voice. Whatever feels best for you. You don't have to follow it word by word, but definitely just getting across the importance of voting by mail, and that their voice is important, and they shouldn't feel as if their vote is not going to count for the runoff election. Smile and have fun. It's hard with today's day and age, being happy or trying to fake a smile through if you're getting just like negative news constantly back to back. But just take those 2 hours or an hour and just just breathe, meditate, do what you got to do, and just stay positive, have a good time, and that way you're able to spread some positivity through calls. And maybe you never know, somebody's having probably a really bad day or just went through something very tragic, and you being on that phone call with them and you showing them that positivity and smiling, or just being there for them, could really impact their day. Again, just staying positive, even if you do get run into a couple Republicans or a couple people who just don't want to talk. Thank them for their time, take a deep breath, and then move on to the next one. Next steps, as Ariel mentioned, if somebody does want to become active and help us out with making calls and volunteering, send them our way. Because although we're not all together, we can definitely help each other from our own homes, and and get towards that same goal that we're all trying to work towards November. For timing, typically our call time, sacred time, is Monday through Thursday from 5 to 9, and then 3 to 8 on Fridays, because in the evenings everybody's home. But because everybody's home, or for the most part everybody's home right now, call anytime from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Of course, since we are calling a bit of more seniors, as it gets later on in the day, of course you might not get like the best response, but anytime that you have an hour or two, get on those phones and just start making calls. And lastly, just don't be rude to anybody. You guys are all wonderful, amazing people, so I don't see that being like a problem. But of course, if you ever do get somebody who's just very, very negative, again, just breathe and thank them for their time and go on with your day, because it's not worth spreading negativity. And so here is a photo of our previous phone banks from earlier this year. Some of you are in these photos, and again, thank you for all the work and all the calls you have made and all the efforts you have made to help us, turn Texas blue. But with social distancing, we have to practice, put this into consideration, take it into consideration whenever we're phone banking. So, if you are phone banking in a home with other people, just keep your distance where you can. And then now I'm going to pass it over to Ariel to show how we can exactly get started on making these calls.
Thank you, Jill. So we will provide you links directly to the mobilizers, but if you are starting out from, say, scratch, all you have to do is go to the Harris Democrats website. As you can see, it's new. Very excited about that. So all you have to do to see our volunteer opportunities is go to events, unsee that circle, and click volunteer opportunities. And this is what it looks like. So this is an example of can you go to the previous slide, please? So see there's highest priority events. You can also filter it by the kind of events. If you see show me, you can change it to phone banks. That's all that's going to be available currently, but it'll give you a link, and just click see details, and once you click that, it'll take you to the this page. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is what a mobilized page looks like. This is an example of my phone bank, the Southwest Rana phone bank. So the way you access the open phone bank is pretty simple. You don't have to have votebuilder.com access right away. But so all you have to do is put in your information, first name, last name, email, number, etc. You can either click to access the phone bank, so it'll take you straight to the phone bank, or you can pick a time. So can you go to the next slide, please? So when you pick a time, you'll be able to click choose the dates, the dates and the time. As a club, I would choose to coordinate. Like for the Asian American phone bank, we do it Tuesdays from 4 to 8. So I have my phone banker sign up for that time. It's just better for like morale, I guess. And if anyone has questions, they can text each other and bounce back on each other. And if you do it that way, you'll get an email, and it'll give you the link to click the to access the phone bank that way. So this is what it looks like when you click get the open phone bank link. It says get started. We forgot to show the login page. But so if you already have a Action ID account, just put in the Action ID account information you already have. But if you don't have an Action ID, there's an option to create an Action ID, and all you need is your full name, an email address that you will remember, and a password that you will remember. And you'll just once you sign up, you'll get an email, and it'll give you the link. We'll also have like we'll provide a packet that'll go through that process more in depth, but it's pretty simple. So that'll hopefully that will supplement if you have any questions. But once you get into virtual phone bank, this is what it looks like. So you'll see like someone's name, number, age, the F is gender. On the left-hand side, you see like their preferred phone number, their voting address, or not their voting city, and their zip code. We usually, when we're like closer to get the vote, we see like where their polling location is, but right now we always see is that. On the oh my god, on the right-hand side, see there's like my name, Ariel Ranza Mendez, and someone else's name in blue. That's just other people in the household. So if you get like, if you were to call my number and you would get a male's voice, you'd be like, oh, is this David instead? It just gives you that option. So this is what our script looks like. It's pretty simple. We're starting out asking, we're identifying Democrats. We're asking if they want to vote by mail, and then we go into whether or not they need more resources. So the way I do is like, hi, is Ariel available? This is Ariel with the Harris County Democratic Party, reaching out to good voters like you. Do you consider yourself a Democrat? Because of what's going on, I also start out with like, hey, we're just checking in to see if you're okay. People like that more. It's whatever works with you. Can you go to the next slide, please? So if you get a so this is an option if you don't get the person. All you have to do is click like I couldn't reach Ariel, and your this pops up. These options pop up: not home, refused, deceased, etc. I just want to expand on some of the choices because they're not as intuitive as they might seem. So busy is the busy signal, like the beep 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 noise. Disconnected is if the number no longer works. Some people think that if someone hangs up on you, you put busy or disconnected. That's not what it means. When someone hangs up on you, just put them as not home. I know that might not seem like it makes sense, but a lot of times we'll call those people later and they're in a better mood and they'll talk to us then. So it just gives us another chance for us to talk to them. However, if they say, take me off your list, or I don't want to talk to you guys ever, put them down as refused. Just say, thank you so much, have a great day, and move on. And for left messages, we're not leaving, like I wouldn't recommend to leave messages at this time just because we're identifying Democrats and we don't know for sure if they're Democrat. These are likely Democrats, but the algorithm isn't always like 100%. So I would just keep it moving. And I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. The next slide, please. So this is what the rest of the script looks like, or some of the scripts. So after you identify that they're a Democrat, so if they're not a Democrat, thank you so much, have a great day. But if they are a Democrat, would you like the Texas Democratic Party to send you an application to vote by mail? So all you have to do to answer that question is you just click that choose an option button, and it'll be either yes, they're a senior, or they have a disability, out of the country, they're in prison, no, they don't want it, or they've already sent one. The Texas Democratic Party is working with us, so if they want an application, all you have to do is put in an option, and the TDP will get back to them. Like they'll send the application for us. However, if they have another person in the household with them that wants an application and their information is not on the screen, like if it's not like the other person in the household, then you can go to texasdem.co, like the link is right there, texasdem.co, sign up a senior, and just fill it out yourself. You just have to talk with them through it, because in the application you would need like the person's name, address, and preferably like a number they can get back to them and stuff. Okay. So this is some additional info that we've added. In my experience, I haven't had a lot of people who need this information, but this is just in case. I would only go into this if they need it. Honestly, most of the people, like RJ said before, just really want someone to talk to. Someone gave me like their recipe for bread the other day. The people just want some conversation. However, if they do need help, for example, a food, medicine, or the other stuff, 211 is a number they can call. It's a social service hotline that can direct them to what they need. As well as if they have any questions about their health, they can call the nurse hotline, which is provided up there. And that's available in English and Spanish. So at the very bottom, it says, what is the voter's preferred communication? Preferred communication language. This is only if like this is relevant. For the Southwest Phone Bank, there are a lot of Mandarin and Vietnamese speakers who can speak English, but they prefer not to. They prefer to speak their native language. So that's for that option. But for the most part, if it's not a problem that comes up, I wouldn't ask it. It's just not, you don't have to ask that. Okay. Any questions?